Part 17. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 162. After 3 tables, Master Han Qian said he had drunk 6 or 7 bottles of beer. Fortunately, it was iced and it was slower to go up, but he was still a little dizzy. He leaned on Ji Jing's shoulder and watched the performance on the stage. Several little girls sang. A few songs were played, and some people cheered and requested songs. 100 songs. Cash. $100 bills were rolled up and inserted into the mouth of the wine bottle, and the wine bottle was placed in front of the stage so that after the singing, they would come off the stage to toast. It's easy for drunken people to deliver drinks one after another just to save face. The girl who sang was fine. After collecting the money and leaving the stage, she indicated that she could have some drinks. Now Han Qian looked at the young men on the stage and felt very distressed. The young men all know how to warm up the scene and set off the atmosphere. It's hard to say how big or small the internet celebrity is, but it's certain that Tu Xiao has given them gifts. There is one young man who is as good as the long-legged Appa, even better. Little Yang Jia came forward and gave him 2 bottles of wine. This kind of MC is not the kind of girl who can just step off the stage and take a sip. They need to blow dry the wine on stage, and luckily it comes from a small bottle. The young man received the reward and was still a little beauty. He was in a good mood and shouted loudly to Yang Jia with a microphone. A beautiful woman looks like a lady at first glance, and when a beautiful woman smiles, she will never forget it when she looks back. The young man handed the microphone to his partner, raised his head and blew down 2 bottles of beer at the same time. A picture of Xiao Yangjia also appeared on the big screen behind him. This must have been done by Sul Yang, no one else was so boring except him. 88 yuan to dominate the screen for 2 minutes. The handsome young man's performance coupled with Sul Yang's heckles, the atmosphere was instantly pushed to a climax. Immediately, someone was unwilling. They also sent 2 bottles of beer, and 188 dominated the screen for 10 minutes. It was also a photo of a beautiful woman. It seemed that she is still the little singing internet celebrity she was just now. The other party added a garland. The same is 100 yuan. Han Qian just smiled at this. He really had money and nowhere to spend it? Sul Yang didn't dwell on this matter and took a sip of wine. Watching the climax slowly subside, the singing girls came back again. At this time, Han Qian discovered that the little internet celebrity on the stage who was rewarded by Xiao Yangjia went to the table where the reward was given first, causing the already prepared Xiao Yangjia was very embarrassed. Han Qian frowned, and when he was about to speak, Qianwan behind him stood up drunkenly, pointed at the girl singing on the stage and shouted loudly. "You, just you, go down first and let the guy from just now come on stage. Whoever rewards more will be the big brother. Bring me 10 bottles of wine and send them over." After saying that, Qianwan handed the cash of 1,000 yuan to the waiter. The handsome internet celebrity felt happy, but he still nodded apologetically to the big brothers who gave the reward and returned to the stage. When he came on stage, the beer had already been put on the stage. Qianwan held the chair with one hand, pointed at the internet celebrity and said, "Sister, I won't make things difficult for you. Whoever rewards you more is the eldest brother, right? Blowing 5 bottles will help you remember." This was obviously a fight, and the happiness in the heart of the little internet celebrity disappeared. Who doesn't want to make money? The little internet celebrity blew 5 bottles in a row. This kind of small bottle of beer is not much even if it is shaken in the mouth. The little internet celebrity just drank it. Finally, the same 10 bottles of beer were delivered to the stage, with an extra garland. Qianwan smiled at this, turned around and shouted to the manager. "Go and give me 10,000 in cash. Do you like playing? My sister will play with you today. Whoever leaves will be the grandson. Do you hear me?" The manager hurriedly went to prepare a box of 24 bottles and 10,000 cash. No one tried to stop Qianwan's squandering. Everyone knew how rich her family was. They also knew that Qianwan just didn't want to make Yang Jia unhappy. But Yang Lan was embarrassed and turned to look at Han Qian. Han Qian faced Yang Jia. Lan smiled and shook his head. The little internet celebrity on the stage realized that he was in trouble and had to find a few colleagues to come over and drink together. Qianwan did not stop him from doing this. When the four people drank a box, Qianwan asked the manager to change it. 10,000. Another box. Qianwan sneered. Don't you like money? Suzy, Long Shi, right? Let's see if your sister on the list is called Princess Jian. I am the special Princess Jian. I want to support you guys because of the support of the city, so it's shameless. I didn't bring much with me today, but I still have 300,000 yuan. Can you drink it, right? If you have money, you're a dad, right? Come on, if you're hospitalized, I'll reimburse you for your medical expenses. Ouch. Han Qian turned his head and grinned at Qianwan. So you don't just spend money in the game. Don't be ridiculous. I won't tell your aunt. Hearing what Han Qian said, Daqian'er was instantly frightened, his aura completely dissipated, he sat on the chair and looked at Han Qian and complained. Isn't this a lesson to them? After I said that I spent the pocket money my aunt gave me, a group of people who have breasts are mothers. What is said in the live broadcast room is that they understand. Now they are dealing with human affairs. Several internet celebrities on the stage were confused. The sister who dominated the rankings in several of their live broadcast rooms was here? Do you want to go back and let the company know that they have offended the first lady on the list? You must be scolded to death. He quickly stepped down and handed over 2 wads of cash. Daqian didn't even look at them, looked at Han Qian and said softly. Brother Qian, please change the scene. Han Qian sat up and glanced at his phone, curled his lips and nodded. Let's change, little Yang Jia, will you come with me or go home with sister Yang? Brother Qian, I'll go with you. Everyone stood up and prepared to leave, leaving a few little internet celebrities in a mess. What to do? Qianwan vomited when she went out. The long-legged Appa offered her hospitality, but was declined by Shan Shan. She and Jijing supported the big money, and the big money sat in Yang Ian's car. The girl said, change at this time, I was so drunk that I couldn't tell the difference between east, west, north, and south. The manager of Xiao herding cows prepared a car to take them to the next place, and everyone took the car to the next show. Han Qian sat in the passenger seat of Jijing's BMW, and behind the seats were Suliang and Miss Yelai. Jijing handed Han Qian a bottle of water, and Han Qian rubbed his head and said feebly. If Director Qian finds out, he will definitely pull my ears and punish me. I'm glad Guan Dagu is gone, otherwise these little internet celebrities will be dead, hey. Jijing drove seriously and said softly. Don't worry, Wan also protects her shortcomings. Little Yang Jia will go to the general department when nothing happens. She is also Lanlan's younger sister. Everyone protects her and treats her like a younger sister. Actually, Wan is good like this. It's better than Li Dongsheng. Well, what you say makes sense, huh? Lily, Liang you two have been bored for a long time, haven't you been bored enough yet? Do you want me to open a room for you, Aunt Ji? Does Guan Dagu want to open a room for me? Coming. Bah. Han Qian, don't get drunk and talk nonsense, Li, don't pay attention to him. Lily, who was sitting in the back seat, narrowed her eyes and giggled. Unfortunately, Han Qian was not so clear-headed at this moment. When they arrived at the KTV, Sul Yang and Miss Yelai went upstairs hand in hand. Han Qian, who stayed on the first floor, tilted his head and looked at their backs, wondering. Is everything developing so fast now? Is this the case? Ji Jing smiled softly, supported Han Qian and did not explain to him. It was not that he was too fast, but that Han Qian was too slow. Han Qian was sitting on the first floor drinking tea and sobering up, and then he saw an eccentric person. The little girl appeared in front of him, narrowed her eyes and smiled at Han Qian. "Brother-in-law, is this my eldest aunt?" Ji Jing was stunned for a moment and murmured doubts involuntarily. "Big brother? Auntie?" Han Qian covered his head and said helplessly. "This girl calls her aunt because of her breasts. You're a little older than Yan Qingqing, huh? What the hell are you calling her aunt, little bastard?" Xiao Tukan smiled naively at Ji Jing, did not change his words, and chuckled at Han Qian. "Uncle, my dad has been waiting for you for a long time. If you are having tea, why don't you go over now? Why don't I tell him to go home? Tu Xiao is here? This guy is really impatient." Han Qian struggled to stand up and said helplessly, covering his head. "Aunt Ji, hold on to me, little bastard, lead the way. There may be another one later." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 163. Han Qian couldn't remember exactly what he said to Tu Xiao in the office. He just knew that Tu Xiao said there was a room here and asked Han Qian not to go back tonight. He would ask little Tukan to tell the child about her aunt. Han Qian walked into the room. At this time, he only felt that his body was very hot, and Ji Jing, who was supporting him, felt very fragrant and tempting. When Ji Jing helped Han Qian lie down and put on her clothes, Han Qian suddenly stretched out his arms and hugged Ji Jing, pressing his plump body on Han Qian's body. As soon as Ji Jing let out an exclamation, her seductive lips were blocked. The next second Han Qian opened his eyes, stood up and rushed to the bathroom, wearing the clothes Qian Ling just bought and turning on the shower. Ji Jing sat on the edge of the bed, her lips stained with blood. She can't be despicable and take possession of Han Qian at this time. She already has a thorough understanding of Han Qian's character. As long as the two of them make mistakes here tonight, Han Qian's character will definitely be responsible for her. What about Qing Qing? What to do about warmth? Han Qian was the first man she didn't reject physically after she suffered a blow. Even the passionate kiss just now was not rejected by Ji Jing. But she would never allow herself to do this. The cold water poured on his body. Han Qian sat in the corner of the bathroom and slapped his face twice. The blood was not Han Qian's, but Ji Jing's. Ji Jing was reluctant to bite him, but he bit Ji Jing's lip out of reflex. Han Qian felt that he was not a man. How could he make a mistake at this time? How could he bully Ji Jing, who had the softest personality? If something happens, how do you face your parents? How should we explain Wen Nuan? Will Yan Qingqing's relationship with Ji Jing break down? Han Qian raised his hand and slapped him in the face again. Ji Jing stood outside the bathroom door, leaning against the door with her back, lowering her head. Head whispered. Han Qian, if you feel bad, I can. No. You can't. This is unfair to you. You asked Guan Dagu to take you back. I can trust him here. Come pick me up tomorrow morning and bring me a set of clothes. Han. Be good, obey me. You know my character, and I know yours too. We can't make this mistake again in this situation. There is something wrong with what Tu Xiao gave me to drink tonight. I will go fight with him tomorrow. I won't go back. I live next door. You can call me anytime. Although I can't give it to you, but use your hands. I know how to do that myself, go ahead. Even at this moment, Han Qian couldn't change his character as a straight man. The cold water extinguished everything. Han Qian listened to the silence outside. He stood up and took a breath. He filled the basin with water and then plunged it in. The suffocation made Han Qian's brain clear. Looking at himself in the mirror, Han Qian glared coldly and sarcastically said, "Han Qian, you are really not a man. You are not as decisive as a man should be. You are a complete loser who dare not face reality." Ji Jing stood up outside the door and quietly exited the room. In her heart, Han Qian is a man who is upright and can protect her safety in all directions. Do you like it? Of course you do. But liking is not selfish. For Ji Jing. 2 beds and 1 wall. The cold water made Han Qian extremely sober, but he still couldn't remember what he had just said to Tu Xiao. Maybe this matter was not important. How should he face Ji Jing tomorrow? Ah! Han Qian wanted to grab his hair, but it was too short. On the other side of the wall, Ji Jing was lying in her clothes without a quilt, and her pillow was covered with paper towels. If only women had slept in this bed, she would be able to accept it. If there was a man, she would have to lie here. Listening to Han Qian's wailing, Ji Jing sighed silently. But what to do? Things have developed out of control. 2 hypocritical and stubborn people who refused to let go, their journey was destined to be bumpy. Han Qian looked at the roof with bright eyes. He didn't know when he fell asleep, but he knew that when Ji Jing got up in the morning, she was already sitting on the sofa next to the bed, scrolling through her phone. When she saw Han Qian getting up, Ji Jing walked to the bedside with her phone and whispered, "Nephew, do you like this? It's a black ring, costing more than 2,000. Han Qian leaned back slightly, frowned, and whispered, "Isn't it delicious to buy 2,000 yuan of ribs? By the way, where are the clothes?" Ji Jing threw her phone on the bed, stood up and took the clothes from the sofa. It seemed that she wanted to change Han Qian's clothes. Even the underwear was ready, with a small elephant trunk on it. Han Qian took it, panties covered her face and laughed. "Do you really treat me like a child? This thing, forget it, it's stuck in my pants pocket, the password. Last night, Boss 2 said he wanted to thank you. Didn't all the purchases count as his treat? And you gave 20,000 yuan to Deqianer and sent it back. If Deqian didn't want you, you would beat him up." Listening to Ji Jing's story, Han Qian looked confused. What did he do last night? Ji Jing put on underwear under the quilt, then got out of bed wearing underwear and put on pants. Ji Jing threw Han Qian a pair of long johns. "It's cold outside, put this on." "Oh, what did I say to Tu Xiao last night? I don't remember." Ji Jing's face became a little embarrassed when she mentioned this matter. She lowered her head and arranged the clothes that Han Qian had changed, and whispered, "You say you are very powerful. In terms of brains, I can't compare with you. In terms of martial arts, Yalin must also retreat. Anyway, you boasted very powerfully, and Boss 2 didn't doubt you. I promised a lot of things, but in the end I couldn't stop him." Han Qian opened his mouth, and Ji Jing continued. "Then you went to Deqianer and the others, howled a song, and insisted on finding some girls to sing with your male colleagues. Ouch. Stop talking and go downstairs to pay." The little girl who was checking out at the bar downstairs almost cried because she didn't dare to accept the money. The little girl huddled in the corner holding the POS machine, as if Han Qian was trying to rob her. In desperation, Ji Jing could only push Han Qian away. Qian dragged him away. Driving all the way back to the company, Han Qian asked in a daze when he got out of the car, "Is your lip okay?" Ji Jing blushed instantly. She raised her legs to lift Han Qian but didn't touch anyone. She slipped away in a professional skirt. The moment Han Qian walked into the general department, all the members of the general department stood up and everyone looked at each other. Looking at each other and laughing, Su Yang imitated the drunken Han Qian who pulled Fang Shanshan to perform yesterday. Han Qian blushed with shame and roared at Su Yang. Suliang was stunned and Han Qian ran away. In Yan Qingqing's office of the honor group, Yan Qingqing took her mobile phone and played the video of last night to Han Qian. Needless to say, it was taken by Xiao Yangjia. Looking at himself in the video, Han Qian really wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian teasingly and said with a bad smile, "You were with Ji Jing last night? Did your Aunt Ji give you a chance to say goodbye to your virginity?" Han Qian squinted at Yan Qingqing and said angrily, "Do you think they are all like you? Aunt Ji and I are innocent. Then we don't understand." Yan Qingqing gave Han Qian a chance to react, pulled Han Qian and kissed the guy's forehead hard. Han Qian yelled and said angrily, "Kissing the forehead doesn't mean you have ability. You have ability." When Han Qian pretended to unbutton his belt, Yan Qingqing took out a pair of scissors behind her, and Han Qian immediately changed his words. "Ms. Yasha, do you think my belt looks good? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 164. The morning was spent on the sofa in Yan Qingqing's office. In fact, there was a lounge behind Yan Qingqing. Han Qian wanted to go in and lie down for a while. Yan Qingqing said that she would go in when Han Qian came in and send Nuan a message then. Video. If these women were to target each other, they would do so regardless of occasion or location. Han Qian has been waiting for noon, looking at his mobile phone eagerly. This thing was soaked in water yesterday, why is it not broken? If it breaks, there is a reason to replace the phone, but unfortunately this thing is still very sturdy. 11:30. Suliang's call is ready. Come on, let's go eat together. This was what he was waiting for. Han Qian got up and walked out the door. Nothing can delay the meal. The big table in the restaurant was occupied again. Han Qian, Suliang, Shan Shan, Wan Wan, Lu Zhuolong, Xiao Yangjia. Suliang smiled at little Yangjia. Why do you, the general manager's secretary, get together with our general department? Huh? Yangjia, why do you have acne on your mouth? Pimples. Xiao Yangjia exclaimed and took out the small mirror he carried to take a look. Suliang took the opportunity to snatch a large piece of kuabao meat from Yangjia's plate. When Xiao Yangjia knew that he had been cheated, he screamed and asked Suliang to give it back. A gift bag of snacks for her. There was a lot of excitement on the table. Lu Zhuolong lowered his voice and whispered, "Liang, you and Lily from the public relations department left together yesterday, and nothing happened." Suliang pretended to be noble, raised his head and said proudly, "Send her home and invite me upstairs for a cup of tea. Can you be so unreserved? Qianer happens to be here too. Let me teach you. Inviting her upstairs for the first time is just a test. If you agree when she went upstairs, she might say that she didn't bring the key, or she might say that so and so would be back soon. Of course, if she refused, there would be no next time, man. But, brother Liang, you have nothing to worry about. Didn't you see that Minister Ji was always by Brother Qian's side yesterday? Brother Qian relies on his charm, but you can't rely on means." Fang Shanshan hit Suliang mercilessly. Suliang was slightly dissatisfied, pointed at Han Qian and pouted. "Then he is still a..." Han Qian immediately put down his chopsticks, raised his face, and said angrily, "Believe it or not, I will drown you. Hey hey. Everyone is familiar with each other, and joking is more casual." Han Qian is also curious about what is going on with Suliang and this Yelai girl. Just when he is about to ask, Suliang suddenly stands up and says hello to the distance without even thinking about it. I thought, this animal must have seen Miss Yelai. Today, Yali girl is wearing a pair of jeans and a small vest. The enviable thing about the public relations department is that there are basically no rules. Of course, they have to be on call at all times. Miss Yali came over with a dinner plate, smiled sweetly at a few people, and said softly, "I can sit here. I'm sure, Chiener, go to the Chiener side and don't get in the way again." This good-for-nothing guy decisively favored sex over friends. Han Chien opened his mouth, but still chose to cooperate. He stood up, raised his face, pinched his throat and whispered, "Okay, young Master Su, I will make room for Madam right now." Everyone was joking, and Lily didn't try to quibble. She was already used to it. When she came, she naturally talked about what happened last night, but she didn't mention anything about Han Qian's embarrassment. She just said that she was very happy yesterday. "I didn't expect that my colleagues in the general department were so enthusiastic." Dakianer smiled carelessly and innocently. After a while, the long-legged Appa from the public relations department also came. He smiled and said that there was no place for him. He was not very familiar with other departments. Can he squeeze in? That's natural. It's all about saving face. As soon as the long-legged Appa sat down, little Yang Jia said with a smile, "Shuashuo, why did your public relations department come to the canteen to eat? Aren't your lunches subsidized?" The names of the public relations department seemed to be all superlatives, and none of them seemed to use their real names. Long-legged Appa Shuashuo smiled at little Yang Jia. "Sister Jia Jia, please don't make fun of me. This public relations department has the worst performance. I'm about to be kicked out of the public relations department. If I don't save some money, I have to go back home for the new year." The long-legged Appa Shuashuo smiled at Dichiener after saying this. That look was a bit too charming. Miss Yali looked away vaguely when she lowered her head to eat. She seemed not to like hearing what Shuashuo said so much. Everyone also smiled. He didn't answer the call, but little Yang Jia didn't want to be fooled like that, so he asked probingly, "Is your public relations department still short of money? Are you short of money?" "Huh. Shuashuo, please be a man next time. Are you wearing foundation on your face? Sister Jia Jia, can you please let me go? I'm born with good skin. We, the young people, have to pay attention to our appearance. Why, does the rich woman like it?" Xiao Yang Jia joked heartlessly. Shuashuo was not angry and laughed. "It would be great if a rich woman likes me. I will do housework at home. I want to be a woman in my next life." Everyone paid little attention to the chatting and joking, but Miss Yali seemed a little dissatisfied with it, raised her head and frowned. "What? Aren't we women? If you don't want to work hard, just say you don't want to work hard. I'm full. Brother Liang, goodbye, young Master Qian." The atmosphere became a little awkward. Everyone looked at each other and lowered their heads to eat. There was no way to continue the conversation. Han Qian was the first to put down his chopsticks, stretched out his hand to knock on the table, stood up and left. Su Liang hurriedly took a sip of noodle soup, stood up and shouted, "Wait for me for a while. Why are you so anxious about smoking? I haven't finished eating yet. Slow down." After these two guys left, Shuashuo from the public relations department relaxed a lot when talking to Fang Shanshan. He would peek at Jianwan from time to time, but our Princess Jian's mind is full of games. Too smooth. Shuashuo sighed feebly and left before Dakianer and others finished eating. He was going to find Miss Yali and catch their own fish. They had already broken up, so there was no need to be like this now. Public Relations Department. Big Divat. The two guys were sitting in the security room blowing smoke. The security captain had made tea. They had won a lot of money from Han Daxianer in the past 2 days. They were afraid that this guy would suddenly get something wrong and have to go back. Han Qianduan sipping tea and smoking a cigarette, he smiled at the security captain. Isn't Captain Gio busy at noon? Very busy. He doesn't have this kind of eyesight and can't get into the position of captain. His monthly salary is quite a lot. After the people left, Han Qian looked at Erlang's legs and the company employees passing by the window, and said with a slightly disappointed tone. Hey, it's getting cold. I've lost a lot of my beautiful legs in black stockings. I haven't liked winter since I was a child. In the private house where I live, the stove and the Kong are cold in the morning. It really takes courage to get out of bed. Ah. Sul Yang, whose legs were resting on the coffee table, was holding tea and grinned. What? You started to test me when you have nothing to do? Let me tell you, I am a child from an ordinary family, maybe better than you. I have lived in a building since I can remember. I really don't understand what you are talking about. But, do you want me to ask you why you are so close to the people from the PR department, and then you tell me what plans you have prepared, so that I don't get fooled by Lily? Han Qian turned his head and smiled. I just like chatting with you. You are so smart. You said how good your brain is at work, but you are thinking about how to fool the little girl. One day I will dig up your fish pond, fish out the bastards, and bleed them one by one. What? I delayed your aircraft carrier practice. If you don't tell me, I can guess a little bit. Let me contact Sun Si. I guess you are going to go out to meet some girl alone now. Empress Yasha and concubine Ji's eyes will turn into copper. Ling, besides, my reputation is already bad, so I won't think too much about it even if someone touches me. Han Qian giggled again. He really enjoyed chatting with Sul Yang. He was like a funny mirror, the blood circulation he hinted at was skewed, but the center point did not change. When Han Qian turned his head, Sul Yang said something. Han Qian was furious. Qianer, you are still a virgin after getting married, are you not good enough? Didn't you go to the hospital? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 165. Sul Yang is running and Han Qian is chasing. When Sul Yang rushed into the office, he happened to meet Sister Yang, who had an unhappy face. He took a decisive step across and stood with his middle finger on his trousers. Han Qian, who was chasing behind him, shouted before he even entered the general department. What the hell are you doing to say no? Sister Yang hasn't eaten yet. Yang Lan stepped forward and kicked Han Qian's calf hard. Yang Lan was wearing pointed high heels today. After this kick, Han Qian hugged his legs and sucked in the cold air, covering his legs and complaining. Sister Yang, if I make a mistake, just tell me directly. You suddenly hit me and I don't even know where I went wrong. Yang Ian's face was ashen, and he stretched out his hand to grab Han Qian's ear and left the general department. Sul Yang breathed a sigh of relief, and then the members of the general department gathered together to discuss what trouble Han Qian had gotten into. In the end, everyone unanimously decided that he must fight with Ji. The minister has connections. Their guess was absolutely correct. Han Qian stood in the corridor, his back to the window, feeling hopeless. Yang Lan held her arms in her arms, as if she was holding the plump breasts. She wore a goose yellow chiffon shirt and a light blue professional skirt. Today, Yang Lan was dressed very sensually. More like a teacher. Han Qian, dressed in sportswear, looks like a student who made mistakes. Tell me, what happened to Ji Jing's lips? He was still with you when I left. I heard that you didn't go home last night, Han Qian. Tell me what happened. Han Qian raised his head and opened it, then lowered his head again, tapped the floor tiles with his right foot and whispered. What did Aunt Ji say? She said you bit her. Oh. That's what I bit. Han Qian. Please be serious, I am asking you now as Ji Jing's best friend, your sister, you. Yang Ian's chest kept rising and falling with anger. Thinking that she couldn't speak loudly about this matter, she pulled Han Qian's ear and whispered through gritted teeth. "Did something happen to you last night? Was it really you who bit me?" Han Qian grinned and replied. "She said that, how can I explain it? Do you believe me when I say she knocked on the door by herself? Nothing happened between us last night. I was drunk and slept in Tu Xiao's KTV. Jing was worried about me. Sleeping in the room next to me. If something happens to the two of us, can Guandegu not bring a wreath, flowers to celebrate my departure from virginity? Besides, I don't dare to do it now. Warmth is what my mother wants. My daughter-in-law, I." Han Qian felt aggrieved just thinking about it. How could there be a 24-year-old virgin now? After hearing Han Qian's answer, Yang Lan breathed a sigh of relief, let go of Han Qian's ear and sighed, then took out his mobile phone from his pocket and whispered into it. "Did you hear that? I just said that Han Qian can't get drunk and not make trouble. Jing said it was a knock, so I'll hang up if it's okay." Under Han Qian's confused eyes, Yang Lan hung up the phone. Seeing this, Han Qian was about to ask, but his ear was grabbed by Yang Lan again, and Yang Lan gritted his teeth and threatened. "Han Qian, let me tell you, I know that Jing is not repulsive to you now, and Mr. Yan is too concerned about your personal life. You have to know that they are best friends. The most taboo thing between best friends is to compete for the same man. Fortunately for you, you didn't do anything last night, otherwise. What else? I beat you to death." Yang Ian's fist landed on Han Qian's body. If he said it didn't hurt, he would be lying. Han Qian covered his head and groaned. "My sister Yang, if you can't trust others, can't you trust me? If I had this ability, I would have taken down the warmth, wouldn't I? I must have done something wrong in my last life, otherwise why would I be so miserable in this life? Second, do you believe that a 14-year-old virgin would be a rare animal in a zoo? Go away, are you sure you and Jing are innocent?" Yang Lan was still a little skeptical. Han Qian covered his head with his hands and took a deep breath. He slowly lowered his hands and put them in his trouser pockets, and said seriously with an indifferent expression, "I am not sure. Looking for a fight?" Another fist slap. Han Qian's heart seemed clear. If he didn't explain clearly and let Yang Lan vent the anger in his heart, this matter would not end easily. When Yang Lan was tired, Han Qian sighed. "No way. Aunt Ji said I bit her, how can I say I'm innocent? If I want to say I'm innocent, you have to say I'm a liar, playing with women's feelings, my sister Yang. Can you ask Jing about this? Don't bite your lip, I'll admit it if I slept with Sul Yang last night. Jing said that you fell when she was helping you to the bathroom, and her lips hit the door handle. DEI? What she said is DEI. Sister Yang, tell me if the person on the phone just now was Yan Qing. Is she sick? The company is not busy enough now, is it? Sister Yang, please wait for a moment and I will go and kill him. This monster." Snapped. This slap finally landed on the back of the head. Yang Lan was completely angered and cursed. "You have the head of a tiger, but you have the body of a demon." After the punishment was over, Yang Lan took Han Qian back to the general department. Han Qian, who was following behind, looked at Yang Ian's back and sighed. "If I am guilty, please let the atomic bomb drop on my head instead of letting Sister Yang torture me." Hearing the mutterings behind him, Yang Lan turned around and glared, and Han Qian yelled and ran away. He took the opportunity to slip away again. The operations department can't go, it will be embarrassing. The general department can't stay any longer. Playing cards in the security room, it seems I have no money in my hand. Yan Qingqing's office had just been visited in the morning. Where to? Go home? Han Qian, who originally wanted to go to the first floor, followed the crowd out of the elevator. After walking out, he realized that he had just gone down to the first floor. When he turned around, his always used mobile phone rang. He took it out and took a look and found that it was Nuan who was texting. Coming. Brother Chien, are you still going out tonight? If you want to go wandering, please tell the gentle, charming, and knowledgeable little cutie. The little cutie will go back after dinner. She's so cute. Han Chien lowered his head to read the text message and couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly. He lowered his head to answer the text message, and then bumped into the elevator door. My head is buzzing. Covering his head, he squatted on the ground and answered text messages. Since you asked the question sincerely, I will tell you with great mercy, in order to prevent the world from being destroyed, in order to maintain world peace, and implement the charming role of love and justice. There are so many words that I can't put them down. Han Chien resisted throwing his phone and edited another one after sending it. Mr. Han Chien tells you, if you don't go out tonight, you will go home after get off work. Texting in this game is so uncomfortable. On the other side, Nuan was lying on the table wearing bunny slippers and looking at the two text messages sent. He laughed unreservedly and quickly crossed the screen of his phone with the little stars on his nails. Is the first text message full of characters? Didn't I give you money? Go and get a new mobile phone. If I don't agree, why don't you buy it? Why are you so obedient? I told you not to talk to Yan Qing, but you will also be obedient? I don't want to give up money. Bah, it's only 100,000 yuan. Jing will be completely obedient to you. Did Guan Dagu tell you? Don't worry about me, I won't tell you anymore. Can I cook when I get home tonight? I buy groceries. Kuyudai. Both of them put away their mobile phones. Han Chien lit a cigarette in the corridor on the 10th floor. Nuan was about to start busy with what she should be busy with. Recently, Lin Mend and Lin Zongheng and his son were so quiet that it made people feel uncomfortable. Since the last time he met Han Chien holding Nuan's waist in the elevator, Lin Zongheng has never come to disturb Nuan. The news that Vice President Wen's husband is a handsome guy with short hair spread inside and outside the company. I heard that someone got drunk because of it. At the same time, the invitations Wen received began to decrease sharply. The little secretaries outside received less gifts. And melancholy. What can I do if I get married? Does the ball go indifferently if there is a goalkeeper? Come and give the gifts, and then Mr. Wen won't give them all to her. What bad intentions can a little secretary have? There is a printed list on Nuan's table, which was passed to her by Tu Xiao. This list was passed to Tu Xiao by Nuan, and now it has been passed back by Tu Xiao. The last time it was passed, the list had been marked. Shareholders and investors are supporting her, and who are supporting Lin Zongheng. The shareholders, investors, and even senior executives who supported Lin Zongheng had all been contacted by Tu Xiao before. Tu Xiao was given gifts, promises, overtures and inducements. She did everything she thought she should do. Some of them agreed on the spot, some hesitated, and some refused. Those who refused were handed over to Tu Xiao. Be polite before fighting. If these guys refuse, Wen Nuan will not hesitate to cooperate with Tu Xiao to acquire the individual shares in their hands. As for the investors, Tu Xiao is not a good man. Wen Nuan is not a believer either. She has always said that she is a businessman and she values profits. This sentence is not a joke with Han Chien. If someone threatens her cake, Wen will not show mercy to the other person. If you can't get it, then no one wants it. Anyway, the company was profitable when she was managing it. Now that Lin Zongheng is back, the responsibility for anything that happens is his. Of course, she doesn't want to make any move on the investors' side yet. If Lin Zongheng expresses his desire to oust her, Wen Nuan will use her connections at the Yamen Gate and the people on Boss Tu's side to make the investors pay some blood. Nuan looked at the names on the list, and there were really some people who refused to take things too hard. Pick up the landline and tell the secretary outside to call Li Yang over. This person who has just surrendered must be given a sense of importance and trust in him, so that he will work for you risking his life. Li Yang came quickly, panting as if he had run over, and when Nuan spoke first. Manager Li should exercise. Sitting in the office all the time is not good for your health. Yes, that's what Mr. Wen said. I don't mean that I care about those of you who support me. I will naturally repay you for the support you give me. I have been busy for more than half a year, so I should take some time off to rest, so that I can resurrect with full blood. Right. Li Yang was a little confused. His first thought was that Warmth wanted to let him go. Sweat immediately left on his head, and he smiled softly. The warmth has not rested. How dare I? As I get older, the residual heat is completely resting. When Nuan chuckled. Manager Li is overthinking. I have compiled a list here. Take it and focus on the two shareholders above, Ding Xiaomin and Chen Xiaodong, to see if there is any way to acquire their shares. If the result satisfies me, let's follow. You can go with me about this board meeting, be an accompanying assistant first, and slowly gain the right to speak, so go ahead. There was a smile on Nuan's face, but his voice was indeed cold. Li Yang took the list with both hands, bent down and exited the office. Looking at the names on the list, Li Yang took a deep breath. Vice President Wen is about to take action. It's long past time to take action. If there is no war between the president and the vice president, those who have surrendered will never be the founding fathers in their lives. Li Yang never expected that at this time, Vice President Wen was looking at the menu and thinking about what to eat for dinner. On the other side, Han Qian was wandering around on the 10th floor and stopped outside an office door. Deputy General Manager? The home of high fulfillment. Han Qian pushed open the door and walked out, smiling. Vice President Gao, it's okay. I went to the wrong place. In the office, Sun Ya was sitting across Gao Xing's body, her clothes were disheveled. Not available today, don't wait. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 166. How embarrassing. Han Qian closed the door and didn't go far. Sun Ya hurriedly arranged her clothes and stood at the door and shouted. In Vice President Glory's office, Han Qian was sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed, holding the tea brewed by Sun Ya and smiling. It was really not Han's intention to disturb Vice President Gao and Minister Sunday next time. I will knock on the door first next time. I was rude. Sun Ya blushed and squatted beside the coffee table. She didn't feel much embarrassment about being seen by Han Qian. Blushing is just a skill, shyness is just an expression. One of the required skills for the public relations department. She didn't understand how this Han Qian suddenly became the equal of the man she loved and admired. She remembered that when she first met him, he was just a little follower of Yang Lan, like a reckless fledgling. In fact, there are too many people who don't understand it like her. Sul Yang, Yang Lan, Daqian, Li Dongsheng still don't understand it, and not many people understand Han Qian. Warmth counts as one. The current Yan Qingqing is half of it. How can a man whose status is limited to standing still stand still if he takes hundreds of steps with one step? Gao Xingcheng chuckled while holding the tea. Ha ha ha, with our current relationship, Mr. Han, there is no need to knock on doors and introduce yourself. It's good to be direct. At least it makes me feel that Mr. Han doesn't treat me as an outsider. Mr. Han, don't laugh at me. I'm older. When you are unable to do what you want, you always need a lover. After saying this, Sun Ya raised her head and said in anger. I don't want to listen to the nonsense you are talking about here. It's so embarrassing. Sun Ya found an excuse and left the office, while Han Qian leaned on the sofa and frowned at Gao Zixi with a wry smile. I don't understand this thing about Qingqi or not. I should ask Vice President Gao for more advice in the future. Has Vice President Gao had any contact with Director Li recently? I still feel a little ashamed about young Master Li. I regret my original impulse. Gao Xingzi shook his head and smiled while holding the tea, and said softly. Young Master Han, your caution shows that I, Gao Jiji, am a scheming and cunning person. I haven't contacted Li Dehai and Li Dongsheng, this waste. Zhe Sha is also a wealthy businessman, right? Now young Master Han is relieved. I don't believe it, but you are going to scold Li Dehai and his ancestors. Hey. It seems that I can't trust Vice President Gao now. This is so embarrassing. Hey. Li Dehai's family should be pretty good, right? Han Qian took a sip of tea and looked at Gao Xingyi with a smile in his eyes. The latter put down his teacup and laughed. Li Dehai's family is very ordinary, not even a middle-class family. He married into the house of a fierce woman. His father-in-law was a little capable at the time, so he was able to help him. Brother Han, I have discovered that it is easy to get rich. It's simple, and it's hard to say, but it's just about getting rich. The ancestors of those who made a lot of money were either officials or have been doing business for many years. Ordinary people. It's too difficult. Hey. Isn't this what the world is like? Is the senior vice president making a lot of money? Don't be modest. I'm wondering if I'm worth a small BMW. No. It's 525, ha ha ha. In fact, you can continue like this. Do what you are best at. If I can't resist it, I don't have the ability, so I don't blame you. In addition, I can find you a helper. Another enemy of Master Han. Guess. Young Master Han has it written on his face, why are you guessing? He actually called me. At that time, he was just doing something with Sun Ya, a little prodigal, and he didn't have the intention to talk to him. I hung up the phone. At that time, you and my brother in disharmony, it is also our glorious family matter, why would he come over here to join in the fun, right? These words seemed to remind Han Qian that he did not want Lin Zongheng to interfere in matters related to glory. But it was Han Qian who led this plan, not Gao Jiji. What he said doesn't count. Han Qian stretched and yawned. This is more convincing. Do Li Dehai and Li Dongsheng, father and son, still care about glory or not? As long as they can bring disaster to me, they will feel comfortable. Moreover, Lin Zongheng's methods are quite ruthless. In the end, let. As soon as he clicked, a signature smile appeared on Gao Jishi's face, and he smiled. Young Master Han. I finally know why you are still a virgin now. You really deserve it? Are you taking the bamboo shoot? Since young Master Han has said it, it is better for Gao to obey his orders. Haha, you really want to kill me, right? What did Mr. Han say? I heard that your little brother is still single, so why don't I ask Sun Ya to hold the red thread? Mr. Han, Mr. Gao's sincerity can be seen from the sun and the moon. I shook my head and believed it. After saying this, the two of them picked up the teacups at the same time, looked at each other, and laughed. So what if it's exposed? So what if you knew? Can Han Qian find another partner to work with, or does Gao Jixi really dare to kill Han Qian? No one can make substitutions, no one dares. Han Qian has already told Gao Fulai the plan. As for how far Gao Fulai can understand it is up to him. If it fails, Han Qian will lose nothing, and if he succeeds, he will make a sure profit. After laughing, Han Qian took out his mobile phone and called Guan Degu. In front of Gao Xingyi, Han Qian roared after the call was connected. Brother Guan, give the phone to Boss Tu. I have something to do with him. Tu Xiao's voice came out on the phone and was clearly heard by Gao Xingyi. Han Qian didn't care about it and scolded him when he opened his mouth. Tu Xiao, are you hurt? Last night I went over to talk to you with good intentions, and you drugged me? Damn it, if I hadn't retained a little consciousness last night, believe it or not, you wouldn't be able to see it in a few years. Me. You don't do anything about human affairs now. You are a first-rate procurator. Were you a pimp before? Gao Jingchen was stunned by this angry curse. Did he hear the sound? Is it really Tu Xiao on the other end of the phone? Tu Xiao's family is not rich, and he is just a rough guy in the 8th district. But in all these years, I have never heard of anyone picking up the phone and giving Tu Xiao a scolding. As soon as Han Qian finished speaking, Tu Xiao's hearty laughter came from the other end of the phone. Huh? Brother, you have wrongly blamed me. Biozi came back and told me that your work unit had a dinner, and they made fun of you and said that you were still a little boy. It was you who made fun of you, but it was my Tu Xiao's heart that hurt. Besides, you, the girl next to you, is interested in being your concubine, and I pushed you to be a concubine. Isn't this a matter of course? Bah! Then you're going to drug me. It's not medicine. I've heard of tiger whip wine. You can drink the stuff that tiger used to disinfect his dick. Try to get Tukan's whole brother out and talk about business. I haven't heard of anyone trying to take off my legs recently. I have asked Biozi to take charge of this matter a long time ago. He is much more ruthless than me, Biozi. No one wants to touch your brother Han recently, right? No, no, master, you have given the order. I will definitely protect my brother to the death, right? The master and the loyal dog were singing a double act on the other side of the phone. Han Qian was too lazy to listen. He finally said don't engage in prostitution and hung up the phone. After hanging up, Han Qian said seriously to Gao Xingcheng. Vice President Gao, this prostitute is not talking about you, so don't worry too much. How can you not be too worried about this? I just said that I would introduce a girl to your little brother, but you scolded me and didn't have the nerve to explain. Gao Xingyi curled his lips and said disdainfully. Hypocritical. After hearing this, Han Qian grinned and stuck out his tongue, grinning evilly. I drank tea with Gao Jishi for an hour. The first half hour was very harmonious. Just after 1:30, Yan Qingqing's phone calls came one after another. She was afraid that Han Qian and Gao Jishi would have an affair. In the end, Gao Jishi couldn't stand it. Yes, he covered his head and laughed. Master Han, you'd better deal with your girlfriend, one of you first. After leaving the office door, Han Qian was not in a good mood. What does it mean to be one of his girlfriends? Brother, I keep my integrity and I have never been in love, okay? Beer is the kind of pure person, so only a shameless guy like you, Gao Jing, who shoots off everywhere can have several girlfriends. At this time, Yan Qingqing called again. After Han Qian answered the call, he yelled. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Did I go to steal, or did I touch it? Did I go to break the shoes? The phone calls come one after another, and they keep calling if they don't answer them. You know that Gao Jixi and I have something to do, why are you calling me? Just tell me if you miss me. There was silence on the other side of the phone for 2 seconds, and then a pleasant voice came. Well, I missed you. Han Qian was stunned for a moment, then clapped his legs and shouted. Sir, I am the child chosen by God. Do you deserve to miss me? Han Qian, if you don't come to my office in 3 humming minutes, you can give it a try. That's right. This is you, just wait for me. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian ran up the stairs without going to the elevator. In less than 2 minutes, Han Qian pushed open the door of Yan Qingqing's office. Ji Jing happened to be standing at the door, seemingly about to go out, looking at Ji Jing. Lips, Han Qian asked in a daze. Does your lip still hurt? Ji Jing remembered the absurdity of last night when she mentioned this matter. She blushed and kicked Han Qian's calf hard, pushed away the guy who was thinking and saying anything, and trotted away. Within an hour, the same leg was kicked twice in the same position by two pairs of high heels of different models. If you say it doesn't hurt, you'd definitely be lying. Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian with her chin in one hand and said softly, "Don't bite your lip too hard next time." "Well, I know, I'll bite your uncle's lip. Tell me. What do you want from me?" When asked this, Yan Qingqing became a little embarrassed. She held a corner of the documents on the table with both hands and whispered, "Do you have time tonight? I want to treat you to Western food." "I don't have time. I have to go home at night." "Why would you treat me to something like that when it's not the New Year? You called me more than a dozen times just for this matter? Why are you talking so coquettishly? Are you sick?" Even a good-tempered girl can't stand this guy, let alone Yan Qingqing, who has a bad temper. The next second, Yan Qingqing pulled out a baseball bat under the table, pointed at Han Qian and cursed angrily. "You don't blame anything else for being a humming virgin. Did you grow up eating iron balls? Sitcha, can the iron ball be bitten and moved?" Originally, Yan Qingqing wanted to treat Han Qian to a candlelight dinner sweetly, but now it was fine, and the two of them started fighting on the sofa. Then, unfortunately, Xiao Yangjie saw Yan Qingqing riding on Han Qian's body. What a sin! You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 167. The winner was Yan Qingqing. She was as energetic and radiant as if she had just been blessed with a concubine in the harem. On the other hand, Han Qian was lying on the sofa and covering his face. He was so embarrassed. "I've never fought Acridine." 5:30. It was finally time to get off work. Han Qian ran faster than eating this time. Yan Qingqing was so angry that she was thinking about breaking his legs tomorrow and letting him use a wheelchair. Who would have thought that this thing actually happened? Taking a taxi home for the first time, Han Qian had never been so anxious. He didn't want to go anywhere now, he just wanted to go back to his kennel. Only at home was he most relaxed and free. After all, this is his family and he is the biggest. When the warmth came home, Han Qian took off his shoes and lay barefoot on the sofa. Comfortable. Watching TV with a pillow in my arms, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, the main thing is to enjoy my freedom. Although Han Qian is very free in the company, that kind of freedom is a bit boring. Now Yang Lan and Yan Qingqing do not give him any tasks. Yang Lan also wants Han Qian to try not to disturb other people's work in the general department. He is in the general department, everyone just watched him perform. Less than 10 minutes after watching it, the door rang, and the warmth returned. Today's warm sister is dressed very simply, jeans, over-the-knee boots, white vest, and leather jacket. Maybe the white color made her breasts look a bit bigger, but her legs were really long. Nuan put the dish in her hand at the door and asked while bending over to take off her boots. "Why is it so early today? Did you leave early again?" "No, I wanted to go home early, so I took a taxi back." Huh? Scrooge is finally willing to spend money on himself? Did he buy another set of clothes? Why is it sportswear again? As he spoke, Wen Nuan had already walked to the edge of the sofa, sat on the imperial concubine's couch, and handed Han Qian the Wangzhe milk in his hand. Han Qian sat up, opened the can, and handed it to Wen, looking at the clothes and smiling. "I drank too much yesterday, so I put my clothes on to take a shower and forgot to take them off, so I asked my colleague to buy a set of clothes. As long as you can wear them, drink slowly, I won't compete with you. Watching the milk flowing down Wen Wen's mouth, Han Qian took out a tissue and wiped the milk from Wen Wen's chin. After drinking half a can of warmth in one breath, he breathed a long sigh of relief, turned his head and looked at Han Qian with disdain. Just stop drinking as much as you can. A 3-year-old can drink better than you, and you have no money, right? After saying that, Wen Nuan took out a small wad of cash from the Chanel bag beside him, leaned forward and almost fell on Han Qian's body, took out his wallet from his pocket, put the money in the wallet and kicked Han Qian into it. Pocket. During this period, Wen Nuan did not get up. Sniffing the fragrance of Wen Wen's body, Han Qian smiled bitterly. Why do you give me more and more pocket money after the divorce? I still have some money in my hand. Don't I still have a card? The warm chest was only 5 centimeters away from Han Qian's body. If it had been bigger, she might have touched it. She raised her head, looked into Han Qian's eyes with her big eyes, and said seriously. You may take pity on someone and sponsor him with your money, but you will never spend it on yourself. If you, a miser, can be so ruthless as to spend money on yourself, you will not be a bad person, Han Qian. Do you know your morality? Kidnapping. You know, you don't need to be kidnapped. You just got a rope and tied yourself up first. You don't care about yourself. How pitiful you are if I don't treat you better. Well, I have a card. After holding it in for a long time, he said these 4 words. He sighed weakly, put his hands on Han Qian's legs to prop him up, and then spread his white hands in front of Han Qian. Bring it? No. This is all I have. When it comes to the Chinese New Year, can I give you 500,000 in one go? Wen Nuan sighed helplessly. When will this guy finally wake up? He raised his hand and pointed at the kitchen, saying weakly. Go and cook. I haven't even eaten at noon, so I'm waiting for dinner. Han Qian. Why don't you go bring me food at noon? I'm tired of the company's food. I have told you how many times I have told you to eat on time. If you don't eat, your stomach will not be able to bear it, and your body will have no nutrients to absorb, and then you will be weak and have no resistance. What will you do if you get sick? Are you afraid of injections? You are afraid of suffering when taking medicine, and the torture is because there is no lunch, so you have to eat on time, more. Oops. Nuan sat on the sofa and covered her ears, staring at Han Qian and complaining. Why are you nagging more than Lao Wen? I eat and I eat. Stop nagging. You act like an old man. It's annoying to death. Han Qian turned around and gave Wen Nuan a helpless look, then carried the dishes into the kitchen. After Wen went upstairs to change into a set of home clothes, he seemed to be accustomed to standing outside the kitchen with half of his body exposed and watching the cook wearing an apron. Man. In Nuan's eyes, Han Qian was at his most charming at this moment. Serious, focused, only looking at the food in the pot. Gradually, Wen Nuan became angry. Why did this guy only have food in his eyes and not me? Am I worse than a plate of food? The more Nuan thought about it, the angrier he became, and the more he thought about it, the more unconvinced he became, and then he stomped back to the living room angrily. Fortunately, no one lives on the 10th floor. Han Qian listened to the stamping of feet outside and wondered which part of Wen Nuan was wrong. If Han Qian knew that Wen was comparing himself to vegetables, he would definitely not be able to help but laugh. Women's thoughts are sometimes really weird. It's hard to fathom that he and I can also have a passionate fight. When she was eating, she was warm and full of energy. She would reach out to make trouble whenever Han Qian picked up any dish. Han Qian tilted his head and smiled bitterly. What are you doing? Are you having convulsions again? Wen Nuan lowered his head and stared at Han Qian. His cheeks were bulging and he didn't know what was hidden inside, so he asked seriously. Han Qian. I'm better looking than the food. You look good, you look good, you look good. Then why do you only eat vegetables? I can't eat you either. No, your answer is wrong. You want to say that I am important and food is not me. Then. Food. K. Love. Yes, yes, you are the cutest. Which one is more important, me or the crab? You are important. This answer made Han Qian slightly stunned. He couldn't help but smile. He put down his chopsticks and reached out to poke Wen Nuan's bulging face. Then he picked up the chopsticks and picked up the food for Wen Wen. At this time, Wen Wen whispered, "There are a lot of crabs. But there is only one Han Qian." Han Qian glanced at Wen Nuan, smiled helplessly, and continued to eat, but Wen Wen seemed to be restless and asked Han Qian if he wanted to eat conch again. This time Han Qian did not coddle Wen Wen and tapped the delicate conch with his chopsticks. The silly girl smiled on her forehead. Have a meal. If there was nothing wrong with Wen Nuan in the company, he would stay in his office all day without going out or talking to anyone. But it was different when he got home and saw Han Qian. This didn't start like this after the divorce. Halfway through the third year of their marriage, Nuan had already started chatting with Han Qian, but he wouldn't ask questions like who is cute. It was also that time when several unanswered ocean calls appeared on Warm's cell phone. After the meal, there was another scene of washing dishes together, and Warmth would call Han Qian every time he finished washing a plate. Han Qian would agree and also nag. After finishing what he was doing, Han Qian went to take a shower, and Nuan went back to her room to deal with some shareholder matters. Han Qian, who was lying on the bed, fell asleep in less than 10 minutes, late at night. Han Qian was woken up by the warmth, and the light in the room was turned on. The sudden light stung Han Qian and he couldn't open his eyes. Han Qian squinted and frowned. What's the matter? Wen Nuan hugged the pillow and said angrily while wearing pajamas. Han Qian. I'm angry. Han Qian felt like his head was going to explode. He sat up and rubbed his warm head, saying lazily. Yeah, don't be angry, okay, don't be angry anymore. No. I'm angry. Han Qian, get up. The warmth finally disturbed Han Qian's sleepiness. Han Qian sat cross-legged across from the warmth, covering his forehead and saying feebly. What's the reason? Your shareholder affairs haven't been settled yet. I'll handle it for you tomorrow. Can I go to bed first? No. Wen Nuan strongly rejected Han Qian's proposal, then stretched out her hands and pressed Han Qian's face, forcing Han Qian to look at her. Nuan Wen's face was livid, his eyes were ferocious, and he gritted his teeth and said angrily. Who is that woman? This question immediately confused Han Qian. Woman. Han Qian looked left and right, tilted his head and looked confused, wondering. Woman? What woman? I dreamed that you were married to a woman. Tell me who that woman is. This sentence really made Han Qian angry. He stared at Wen Nuan with his eyes widened and his head tilted. His brows slowly wrinkled, his face became a little unbelievable, and his lips trembled. You're dreaming. You said I'm married to a woman, and you ask me who the woman is. How the hell do I know who the woman is? You're the one who's dreaming, not me. Get out. Ah, scumbag. Han Qian, you betrayed me. There was a little girl pestering you, and now you come to my dream to make me angry. I'm not done with you. I want to call my mother. My mother-in-law called. Go, and fight now. You've had a convulsion for a long time. Are you dreaming? In your dream, you have something to do with women and me? Damn it, just let me sleep. Han Qian pulled Wen Wen over and covered Wen Wen inside, forced the girl onto the tatami, and then turned off the light. Han Qian. Stop talking, It's time to go to bed. Brother Chien. I'm asleep and can't hear you. Husband. Say. What happened again? I'm thirsty, please give me some water. Looking at Nuan Nuan and drinking a glass of water, Han Chien felt bad all over. What's wrong? What exactly happened here? How many sins did you do in your previous life? How could such a thing be spread out? When Han Chien went to bed again, the quilt had been taken over by Nuan Chien. Han Chien could only cover himself with a blanket. Now he was so angry that he couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned and couldn't fall asleep. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He sat up and slapped Nuan Nuan on his butt. Come on, get up for me. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. You're dreaming and you're tormenting me. Warmth, get up for me. I'm sleepy. Stand up. Well husband, I'm sleepy. Don't do this to me, get up. When Nuan sat up and looked at Han Chien with big eyes under the quilt. He didn't look sleepy at all. When Han Chien was about to speak, Nuan Wen hurriedly made a silent movement. Hush. Brother Chien, let me do a magic trick for you, hey. Ha. When Nuan suddenly opened the quilt and covered Han Chien inside. Be good, my sister will put you to sleep. The 2 chapters cost a total of 6,000. Is it possible to vote? What about recommendation votes? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 168. Sister Nuan Nuan forced the story to end. Han Chien struggled to get out of the quilt, breathing heavily with a red face. Nuan Nuan was almost smothered to death. After such a fuss, both of them lost sleep. Nuan Nuan used the quilt. He wrapped himself into a spring roll and smiled innocently at Han Chien. Han Chien squinted at Wen Nuan and curled his lips. Playing is either light or serious. Why didn't you get stabbed to death by Lin Zongheng when you were a kid? Nuan Nuan rolled his eyes angrily and imitated Han Chien's pout. Why are you so interested in him? Are you afraid that I will run away with him? Don't be afraid. A straight man is a straight man, and he is used to the warmth. This guy has a tough mouth, and he rolls around in the quilt, and then she is sealed by the quilt and can't get out. Han Chien looks at this fool and raises his head and covers his face and says helplessly. You came out when you turned over, and you held the quilt down. Oh. Then Nuan Nuan rolled to Han Chien's side, blinked at Han Chien with a pair of big eyes, and asked in a low voice. Han Chien, they say that men always have pornographic pictures and movies on their computers and mobile phones. Why don't you? And the way you look at me is, very innocent. They say that only old couples become brothers. What do you think is going on between us? Because you are too stupid. Nuan Nuan was furious, got out of the quilt and covered Han Chien inside again. This time Nuan Nuan stayed outside, and was very open about the quarrel with Han Chien. Although the two were not married, they had not done anything. But I've touched everything I should and shouldn't touch when wrestling, and I'm used to it. He threw himself on the quilt and pressed Han Chien under him. Han Chien exposed his head, grabbed Nuan Nuan's white and blind calves with both hands, closed his eyes and sighed helplessly. After work, you are like a pig out of the pen. Why are you so energetic? When Nuan rode on Han Chien's belly, lowering his head and shaking his head. He didn't look like a lady at all. Fortunately, Wen wasn't too heavy, and the two of them didn't turn on the lights, playing around in the moonlight. Han Chien's putting his hands on the back of his head, when Nuan pressed Han Chien half sitting and half lying. Han Chien, if we had not divorced, wouldn't we be like this now? Do people often learn to cherish after losing them? Do you regret it after you lost me? Han Chien closed his eyes and smiled. I don't regret it. I don't have any regrets. If we hadn't divorced, I would still be a door-to-door son-in-law at home and you would go to work. Our relationship would have stopped at the state before the divorce and would not have progressed. You won't sit on me and act bad. Bah. My sister is acting like a spoiled child. Han Jian, can you stop being so straight? No. You should be more straight. There are too many little girls around you. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't be able to get a divorce even if I killed you. Ah, now Yan Qingqing just shows off to me when she has nothing to do, and also, why do you always go to her office? Mentioning this matter, Han Jian couldn't stop laughing, patted his warm leg and said softly. You go down first, you ate a little too much tonight. You tell me, I'll go down after you finish. Now my position and status in glory are quite special. I have given some help to Yan Qingqing. She won't let me do small things. Recently, there have been no big things. Li Dongsheng of the General Department was squeezed out by me. Now I am the General Manager of the General Department. The staff were so scared when they saw me, and Sister Yang didn't want me to cause trouble in the General Department. She had nothing to do but play poker with the security guard, so I had no other place to go, except hers. Everyone in your class is more relaxed than me, the president. Get down. I can't. Snapped. Han Jian was merciless with this slap. When Nuan lay on the bed obediently, covering his butt with his hands and gritting his teeth, glaring at Han Jian. Han Jian looked at the roof and sighed and continued. This class is really boring. Others go to work. I work like the Three Kingdoms. Hey. It's also my fault that I'm a money addict. Why did I ask for Yan Qingqing's 400,000 yuan when I have nothing to do? No, it's your fault. Who asked you to come up with a contract? Nuan said after hearing this. No. Don't blame me. The contract is not binding in the first place. Besides, if you insist on it for 2 months, nothing will happen. Persevere? How to persist? My wife's childhood sweetheart is coming back, and I'm waiting for him to come to me and ask me to make room for him. It's better to take on some debt, divorce early, and save some face for myself. I won't be kicked out if I leave. The feeling of walking is different. I want to save face and suffer the consequences, and Yan Qingqing insists on this matter. Hey, brother Jian, I want to eat ice cream. It was just past 11 o'clock when I was looking at my phone. Come downstairs. If you don't go, I'll make your stomach hurt. Shall I rub it for you? As soon as he finished speaking, Wen Nuan's little hand fell on Han Jian's belly. Han Jian got smart, quickly distanced himself from Wen Nuan, sat up and shouted. You are sick. Are you unhappy if something doesn't happen between us? What's going on? It's not that I look down on you. You have a cowardly but not heartless character. Can't you go downstairs? If you don't go downstairs, I'll go by myself. Down. Han Jian also wanted to eat popsicles. This was the first time Han Jian wanted to eat something. When he was getting dressed, Han Jian saw Wen Nuan wearing a nightgown and a small vest about to go downstairs. His expression suddenly changed and he ran away. Entering the warm room, he took out a woolen windbreaker from the closet and put it on the warm body. He buttoned it tightly without missing a button, and then nodded with satisfaction. When he walked out of the unit door, the evening breeze blew, and Han Jian couldn't help but shiver. He didn't feel the warmth at all, so he tilted his head and muttered softly. It's not cold either. Let's go buy some popsicles. Wen Nuan has been completely misled by Han Jian. Now he doesn't talk about bullying or ice cream. When he goes to buy Häagen-Dazs, he asks for a popsicle. Maybe it's because he looks good. He thinks everything he says is cute, except why does Du Hankin feel so warm? 2 popsicles, warm treats for Han Jian. $6 a stick. This is a bit luxurious, not only for Han Qian, the warmth also feels a bit expensive, but I just want to eat it. Walking in the community, Han Qian was shivering while eating a popsicle, and Wen Nuan bit it one bite at a time, shouting happily. Hearing the sound of teeth clashing next to him, Wen reached out his hand to cover Han Qian's right hand, which had nowhere to hide. Feeling the warmth from his palms, Han Qian finally stopped shivering. I have to admit, the 6 yuan popsicles are more delicious than the 50-cent popsicles. After Nuan finished one, he turned his head to swallow the popsicle in Han Qian's hand and whispered. Brother Qian, does the cantaloupe taste good? Is it sweeter than strawberry? It tastes pretty good, quite refreshing. I'll take a bite. No. Han Qian. If you don't give me food, I'll hit you with a brick. What kind of temper is this? Han Qian didn't want to eat it at first. It was too cold. He used Wen's excuse to get bricks and found a way down the stairs. He handed the popsicle to Wen. Wen didn't dislike it at all. He ate the popsicle while walking. Goose-stepping, holding Han Qian's hand and swinging it wildly. After eating the second popsicle, Wen Nuan let go of Han Qian's hand and turned around to run. As soon as she took 2 steps with her little motor skills, Han Qian grabbed her by the back collar and pulled her back. Wen Nuan moved forward with both hands. Stretching and shouting, I went back to buy one, and then stopped eating. Han Qian would definitely not agree to this. Han Qian was dragged back abruptly, and then Wen Nuan filled the neighborhood looking for bricks to hit Han Qian. The 2 childish guys were quarreling downstairs for more than half an hour. In the end, Wen Nuan couldn't run anymore and threw away 8 stones in his hand, which were not much bigger than soap. The cause was a popsicle. Wen Nuan sat on the steps of the unit door to rest. Han Qian squatted on the side and smoked a cigarette with a wicked smile. Wen Nuan turned his head and looked at Han Qian and said angrily. Give me a puff. No. Are you going to ask me for a bite when I go to the toilet someday? It's so disgusting. Han Qian, do you know about the Mid-Autumn Festival banquet? Will you go with me? Is there anyone else besides me? If you don't go, I will go with Sci-fi. I'm not sure yet. Director Chiang of Glory asked me to go with her. Li Dehai will probably go too. Yan Qingqing also invited me. It's still a matter of whether I go or not. Let's talk about it then. You and Sci-fi let's go together. I'll ask Guan Yunbiao to send a few younger brothers in to protect your safety. Okay. Do you want to go to work tomorrow? The car has been repaired. I don't want to take a taxi. I picked up the car and went to work. Go upstairs and sleep. Wen Nuan got up and went upstairs. Looking at the stains on Wen Nuan's windbreaker, Wen Nuan felt bad. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 169. The leaves in the community have begun to fall off, which also proves that late autumn is coming soon. Autumn in the north is always earlier than in the south. Han Qian doesn't like autumn full of fallen leaves and snowy winter. Mainly because I'm afraid of being cold. When I was a kid, I had to get up at 5 or 6 in the morning to go to school. It was still dark in winter, so I had to walk all the way to school in the cold wind. I really don't know what was going on in my mind when I was a child. Going to school after suffering so much pain and going to school without studying hard was just a waste of time. Then now, Han Qian gets up early every day to go to work, and then still dawdles around. When will this kind of life end? He thought about going to work on time every day, getting off work on time, earning a fixed salary, eating well and sleeping well, and being a waste with no ambition. As for the future mother of the child, just make do with it. It's a pity that things went counterproductive. Everything was the opposite of what he thought. Driving the Panamera, waiting for the red light, this time waiting for more than 100 seconds, Han Qian just wanted to take out his cigarette, but when Nuan dodged it and threw it into the hand button, wrinkled his nose and whispered. Smoke less, your addiction to cigarettes is getting bigger and bigger, 10 cigarettes a day from now on. What about the ones others gave me? If you can't see it, just ignore it, Han Qian. You can't always rely on. Eat. Don't talk. I'm driving. I don't know where Han Qian took out 2 bags of snacks and handed them to Wen Wen. Wen Wen sat up straight and seemed to want to resist. However, he couldn't resist the temptation of snacks and chose to eat snacks quietly. Then he reacted because the food was covered with residue. Was nagged by Han Qian. When they arrived at the Ford store, Wen Nuan got out of the car angrily. No matter how much Han Qian yelled, he didn't look back. He paid the money and left. The eldest lady drove her car, hit the accelerator, and galloped away. Han Qian sighed helplessly. Tone, get in the car and follow closely. No need to think about where the warmth is going. She would go wherever there was plenty of snacks. As expected, he saw Xiao Hong's figure in the parking lot of the pedestrian street. After a few seconds, Han Qian locked on Wen Nuan. Han Qian appeared behind him. Wen Nuan didn't feel surprised at all and ate it as if he had bought snacks. After taking a sip, he snorted arrogantly at Han Qian, turned around and left. I'm at work, bye. Xiao Hong was driven away by Wen Nuan. She still felt that Xiao Hong was more comfortable to drive, and she was not worried about being scolded by Li Jinhe if she got into a collision. It was an accident last time. If such a thing happens again, it will be said that Han Qian hit the car. Anyway, they feel more sorry for this ex-son-in-law. Looking at the Panamera in front of him, Han Qian really didn't want to drive this car to work. He called his mother-in-law to send the car back. As a result, his mother-in-law told Han Qian that she and Lao Wen were boarding a plane. This time it was true. I went to Sanya for a trip. When did the Mid-Autumn Festival party end? When did I come back? Li Jinhe told Han Qian that this party was not organized by the first and second leaders in the city, and they would not go. Most of the people who went there were government offices involved in business, and he could not be a part of the party where dog meat was sold in sheep's clothing. He told Han Qian not to go if he could, because there were no good people inside. The mother-in-law was not at home and the car could not be sent back. Han Qian had no choice but to drive the car to the company. The car stopped at the main entrance of the company. When he saw that there was no acquaintance around him, Han Qian got out of the car, closed the door, and ran away. Qianer, why are you so anxious? It's Sul Yang. Han Qian stopped where he was and sighed, turning around to ask Sul Yang to keep the secret. When he saw the people around Sul Yang, Han Qian suddenly felt that life was full of darkness, and God was so unfair to him. Sul Yang, De Qianer, Shan Shan, Shua Shuo, Miss Yalai, Xiao Yangjia, and Dear, silly Vice Minister Lu. Very good. Not a single one is missing, they are all here. They saw Han Qian get off the Porsche with their own eyes. Xiao Yangjia looked at the snacks in Han Qian's hand and immediately felt that the rice in his hand was no longer fragrant. He rushed forward and grabbed it from Han Qian's hand. However, when I opened the octopus balls, I found that one was missing. Then when I looked at other snacks, I found that they were all missing a little. Little Yangjia was unhappy. She raised her head and glared at Han Qian, complaining. You said you could eat just one piece of quilt, but you took a bite of everything. It's a waste. I ate it with a skewer and didn't touch anything else. Except for the Rujiamo, which I took a bite of, everything else was very clean. Where did Han Qian bite this Rujiamo? After hearing the explanation, Xiao Yangjia was satisfied. She had no desire to share it with others. Holding the snacks and running away was mainly because he was familiar with Han Qian and believed in Han Qian. Looking at Xiao Yangjia's back, Han Qian said helplessly. Why is this kid acting like a starving ghost? It's over now. If you know I drive this thing to work, you will definitely find a way to trick me. Hey. Why did you guys go out to buy food? Suliang shrugged and smiled. There is a problem with the water pipe in the company cafeteria. I have to take care of today's lunch by myself. Why did you bring this car here? Are you not going to hide your identity? Are you trying to tell us that a godfather in a foreign country suddenly died and you inherited it, a legacy worth tens of billions? Han Qian looked at Suliang with disgust and curled his lips. Are you mentally retarded? Isn't that how all novels are written? Don't look at me. This car isn't mine. Even if it were mine, it's only 8 or 900,000. You're still fawning over a big money guy. Her car costs more than 4 million. Han Qian wanted to point the finger at Qianwan, but Qianwan smiled and took out the key and pressed it. Beep. A QQ car next to the Porsche rang. Han Qian only felt that the world was too unfair to him. He was separated from the two people from the public relations department downstairs. Han Qian and others went to the general department. Miss Yelai and Shuashuo Ba walked side by side to the public relations department and walked to the deserted corridor. Shuashuo Appa raised his head and wanted to hold Li Li's waist, but Li Li quickly avoided it and stood in the distance looking at him with a frown. Seeing this, Shuashuo Appa felt a little dissatisfied, his face turned livid, and he spoke with fierce eyes. Li Li, do you really want to be with Suliang from the General Affairs Department? Miss Yelai called Sun Ya Lily. Who would have thought that his real name would be Lily? Li Li frowned at Shuashuo Appa, with disgust in her eyes. She tugged the hem of her hip-covering skirt and said coldly. Wu Zushuo. I have nothing to do with you. I can be with whoever I want to be with. Now you and I are just colleagues. Please respect yourself. Wu Zushuo, who was always against women, his face became even more ugly. He stepped forward and pointed at the tip of Li Li's nose and said sarcastically. I don't know who asked for my contact information in the first place, but now he starts pretending to be aloof when he meets another one. You don't understand that, Suliang. I do. You have a rotten private life, spending all day in nightclubs hooking up with women. You really don't know what to do. Ah, you want everything. Whether I want it or not is my business. At least Suliang knows that he is working to make money, instead of being like a poor man who shamelessly eats soft food. Ha! What's wrong with Su Xiao's salary? I'm not a yellow flower girl. He doesn't dislike me. I just posted that I am willing. At least Mr. Su is a man, instead of hiding behind his girlfriend and pushing his girlfriend out to socialize when he is in trouble. You think pursuing Qianwan is your business? I am lazy. It's up to you. You'd better keep your distance from me. Li Li's voice was also full of sarcasm and humiliation. Wu Zushuo waved his hand and slapped Li Li. He pressed Li Li against the wall and pinched her neck and said viciously. Do you think Suliang will fall in love with someone like you? You bitch, you think too highly of yourself. You also saw what young Master Han's car was just now. You also saw the relationship between young Master Han and Suliang. His attitude toward you are just playing, but after playing, you have no chance of staying in the company, do you know? I'm humming willing, even if Mr. Su asks me to just have sex with him, I'm willing. At least I know I've met a man, not a sissy who cheated on me. After saying this, Li Li raised her foot and put it in Wu Zushuo's crotch, leaving Wu Zushuo with a painful look on his face and trotted away. I was so stupid back then, thinking that handsome men are kind, so I foolishly gave myself to him. A man who went to the amusement park and was slapped by his girlfriend by a gangster who dared not speak and pretended not to know him. Li Li only felt disgusted. She had no regrets and would not regret it. This also told her that men don't look at faces, but his shoulders. In the general department, Han Qian asked vaguely while eating rujiamo. Really fall in love with Li Li from the public relations department? Be careful not to leave any bones left. Suliang raised his head and smiled at Han Qinhan. I like her very much. I'm not a good person. If she is willing to leave the public relations department for me, I should be careful. Brother, is it too fast? Don't you understand anymore? It's not necessary. If she likes it, everything she does is right. If she doesn't like it, even breathing is wrong. Okay. Yang Jia is here, and you are lucky again. Han Qian turned around and saw that little Yang Jia was really here. Yan Qingqing looked for him again. There will be another chapter later. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 170. Han Qian, the date of the party has been set. It is the night of the 15th day of the 8th lunar month. You are ready to go with me. It was about the party again. Han Qian was sitting on the sofa eating the lunch prepared by Yan Qingqing. It was a very rich Chinese meal, with 4 dishes and 1 soup. It was not a takeaway. It seemed that it was ordered from a restaurant and served on a plate. Yan Qingqing squatted beside the coffee table and picked up the meat while talking. It seemed that she was going to feed it to Han Qian. Han Qian looked at Yan Qingqing with some embarrassment, closed his eyes and opened his mouth, counting 3, 2, 1 in his heart. Click. Mr. Yan, I'm coming in. This is the latest response. This time it's not little Yang Jia. She has grown up and learned wisely. She knows that Mr. Yan and Han Qian cannot go in when they are in the office, but Song Jing doesn't know. Song Jing was stunned when she looked at the scene in the office. In the past, Mr. Yan, who had a bad temper, was squatting beside the coffee table, holding a piece of meat on the chopsticks in his hand to feed Han Qian, while Han Daxian was sitting on the sofa, looking at his expression a little reluctant. Yan Qingqing sighed, turned around and looked at Song Jing and said helplessly. If you've seen it, don't go out and hide. I called you here. Is there anyone on the recent list of applicants who looks good? Song Jing put the information on her office desk and shook her head slightly. They are all kids who have just graduated. They all have very high academic qualifications, but there are not many that stand out. There are basically none like Han Daxian. Send the information to each department and let their ministers make their own selections. Han Qian, do you want to select a few for the general department? The premise is that you don't even think about beautiful girls. There are already a lot of women around you. Han Qian shook his head while eating and said vaguely. No matter, ask Sister Yang. If the general department knew that I couldn't have a little girl to work, they would probably hate me to death. Has Minister Song eaten? Do you want to stay and have something to eat together? Song Jing trembled and shook her head nervously. No, Han, you eat slowly. My husband has brought me food, Mr. Yan, I will leave first. Husband delivers food? After Song Jing left, Yan Qingqing squatted beside the coffee table again, looking at Han Qian with her hands on her chin and smiling. That's great. Now all the women in the company know that you are a big pervert, hooking up with young girls in the company indiscriminately. Ha 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 ha. Where did Song Jing get her husband before she got married? Look at your reputation. Hey. What will you do at the party? Why don't you go with me and be my male companion? Han Qian shook his head and replied decisively. No, Nuan is also on the invitation list. I won't go with Nuan, and I won't accompany you. If Director Qian doesn't force me, I probably won't go. Can I sleep at home by myself during that time? If you need bodyguards, I'll find 2 for you. It's boring. I just let you go with me first, and then I'll stimulate the giant baby. Go ahead. If you go with me, Han Qian, I'll wear black stockings and touch you. It's useless for you to wear a tightrope. I won't take sides when you two quarrel, but it's good if you don't involve me. Why are you squatting while eating? You're like a palace maid in ancient times. Yan Qingqing stood up, lowered her head shyly, and then slowly raised her head with a shy expression. Your Majesty, it's time to go to court early. Who the hell can handle this? Han Qian curled his lips and replied. Have a day off, I'm a little hungry, little swallow. Bah, I'm still a princess. Call daddy. Yan Qingqing laughed at herself, stepped forward and held down Han Qian's head, sitting on the sofa's assistant and saying softly. Put the food on your face yourself, or should I put it on your plate, Han Qian? I haven't done anything to you for a long time, right? With the temper of Empress Yasha, Wenwen would always brush her off when she and Wenwen were having such a fight at home. Wenwen and Yan Qingqing were completely opposite. You couldn't fight back when you were having trouble with Wenwen. It was best to let her win. If you were having trouble with Yan Qingqing, don't you? It's not even possible to fight back, and the attack is neither light nor heavy. Han Qian lowered his head to pick up the vegetables and said softly. I asked Gao Jishi and Lin Zongheng to get in touch. I have to get you 5% of Li Dahai's shares and Qian Ling's. This is the compensation they should give you for slapping you and grabbing your hair. During the party you should pay more attention to Gao Jixi and Lin Zongheng, and there is another thing. You can ask them by the way if they have any intention of taking action against Tu Xiao. Yan Qingqing retracted her hand, squatted on the edge of the coffee table again, sipped her food and nodded gently. After the meal, Han Qian lay on the sofa and looked at the tasks that Yan Qingqing threw at her. They were all things that she, the general manager, should handle. She handed them all to Han Qian and sat at her desk painting her fingernails. Han Qian was very familiar with this set of manicure equipment. He didn't do anything in those few years at home, so he just learned these messy things. Nowadays, nail polish has also been upgraded, including nail polish sealants, phototherapy machines, and a lot of things like this and that. Xiao Yangjia came in and cleaned up the dishes. She came over just after leaving Yan Qingqing and insisted on giving Han Qian a manicure. She didn't apply nail polish, but just trimmed his nails. Empress Yasha sat on the coffee table with a cushion and carefully treated Han Qian's nails. She cleaned the cuticles and dead skin very seriously. Han Qian lay on the sofa and looked at the documents in his hands, one after another. There was no big problem. Are all small plans for Yan Qingqing to sign and implement. After almost reading the document, Yan Qingqing pulled Han Qian to start, sitting next to him and handling the other hand. Han Qian lowered his head and looked at his nails and said softly. Gao Fuling hasn't made things difficult for you recently, right? I see that all departments are cooperating with you. Don't take this as Gao Fuling's surrender. Now Gao Fuling doesn't know that you can get 5% of Qian Ling's money. We recently hired an assistant. Don't you have this idea? No. Why? With you by my side, but without warmth, I'll make her mad. After hearing Yan Qingqing's answer, Han Qian frowned and smiled bitterly. Aren't you childish? How much hatred do you have? Yan Qingqing raised her head and looked at Han Qian, saying seriously. The revenge of seizing your husband is irreconcilable. One day, if you let me know that your virginity was taken off by Wen Nuan, I will hit you on the head, will you believe it? Just as Han Qian was about to speak, Gu Qian rang. He took out his cell phone and there was a text message from an unfamiliar number. There are only 4 words on it. Don't go to the party. Han Qian frowned, who is this? I dialed the number directly and found it was empty, which was a bit strange. I didn't take it to heart after that. It might be Gao Xing'ai who was causing trouble, or it might be Lin Zongheng's provocation, or it might be Tu Xiao's person. Maybe it was my mother-in-law's advice. It was impossible to tell, and Han Qian didn't have the intention to think about it, and he wasn't planning to go anyway. After finishing her nails, Yan Qingqing seemed very satisfied with her masterpiece. She patted the back of Han Qian's hand and smiled. Okay. Get out of here, my dear, I've had enough fun. I don't care if you're playing cards or going to see Gao Feng. Don't bother me this afternoon. You're not allowed to leave early. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 171. If you say you don't leave early, I won't leave early. How shameless would that be? But the actual result is that Han Qian really didn't dare to step out of the general department. Today, Yang Lan and Lu Zhuolong were very strange. They stared at Han Qian from left to right, for fear that this guy would run away, and it would not matter whether he was in the company or not. The company's daily work, but his frequent early departure will bring some negative impact to Yan Qingqing. There have long been rumors in the company that Han Daxian and Mr. Yan have an ambiguous relationship. Now that Han Qian is so unscrupulous in arriving late and leaving early, some people will inevitably be dissatisfied and secretly say that Mr. Yan engages in favoritism and abuses his power to support idle people. Han Qian stood up, and Lu Zhuolong also stood up. Han Qian sat down, and Lu Zhuolong breathed a sigh of relief. However, Han Qian suddenly stood up and ran away, and Li Zhuolong chased after him. In front of the water dispenser, Han Qian closed his eyes and sighed helplessly. Deputy Lu, what are you doing? I can't get into trouble with the water dispenser even though I'm violent, right? Lu Zhuolong looked in front of him and shook his head suspiciously. I'm not sure. Your temper doesn't distinguish between humans and animals when you get up. When you get up, you won't be able to distinguish between a water dispenser and a water dispenser. You might also get into the stove. Lan Lan just told me, where are you before it's time to get off work? You can't go either. Okay, I'm not going anywhere, can I answer the phone? Before he could get the water, Han Qian's legs were a little numb as his phone vibrated. Since the last time he got into the water, this guy seemed to have taken a stimulant, vibrating like a rebel, and he was quite energetic. Qianling. Han Qian didn't dare to open his mouth to talk nonsense on this call. After answering the call, he narrowed his eyes and smiled. Auntie, what are your instructions? A little busy, are you at the company? Why don't you go home if you're not busy? Okay. After hanging up the phone concisely, Han Qian grinned at Lu Zhuolong. Deputy Lu, I really have to leave early. This time, before Lu Zhuolong could speak, Yang Lan rushed to the rescue and said angrily. Xiao Qian, what are you going to do? Mr. Yan told you to stay in the company. Han Qian shrugged helplessly, pointed at Qianwan who was concentrating on playing games, and said softly. Her aunt is looking for me, Sister Yang. Han Qian, can you please make people worry less? Yang Lan imitated Han Qian's vibrato when calling her, with a look of helplessness on her face. Han Qian had no choice but to drag Sister Yang to Qianwan to verify the authenticity of the number. Even if Qianwan said that the number did belong to her aunt, Yang Lan still not convinced, he took out his mobile phone and called Yan Qingqing to confirm, and then agreed to Han Qian's departure. Walking out of the door of the general department, I could clearly hear a neat sigh coming from inside. Han Qian also sighed. It's really not my fault. Walking out of the front door, getting in the car and igniting the car, Han Qian found that his plan seemed to be disrupted. He remembered that during the interview, he was thinking about making money and then buying Azioli for transportation. How did he suddenly become a Panamera? The chicken turned into a phoenix, and the water gun turned into a cannon, right? Fortunately, only this plan was disrupted. Now Han Qian still has 70,000 yuan in his bank card. This 70,000 yuan is not prepared to be given to Nuan Nuan. He wants to give it to his parents. They need to renovate the house at home. The old man and his mother are used to living in the countryside, so let them, they have not come to the city and are not used to it. They are still young and cannot be treated as old people. Then I will ask Yan Qingqing for a few days leave and wait for her family's house to be built before she comes back. It seems that it will be next summer soon. Really looking forward to it. Driving all the way to Qianling's house, the person who opened the door was a young man, about 30 years old, wearing glasses, and elegant. When Han Qian walked in, he extended his hand to Han Qian and said softly, "Hello, my surname is Liu, and the single word is Chang." Han Qian stretched out his hand to shake the man's hand with some doubts, and replied softly, "Hello, Han Qian." Lu Chang held Han Qian's hand tightly, and the guy didn't let go until Han Qian struggled slightly. Qianling, who was sitting on the sofa, looked at the confusion on Han Qian's face and laughed softly. "Xiao Qian, let me introduce to you. Lu Chang was your uncle's most satisfactory student when he was alive. Unfortunately, he did not follow your uncle's path. He wasted several years of his youth by being addicted to games and now works in the Municipal Cultural Bureau. Another monster. How can you still get admitted to the Cultural Affairs Bureau after wasting several years of youth? Why isn't there a fool around me? This is a bit stressful." Seeing Han Qian standing still, Qianling frowned and was slightly dissatisfied, and said in a somewhat lecturing tone, "You don't want to make tea yet? Lu Chang, please sit down first. Xiao Qian is younger than you and is familiar with him at home." Lu Chang smiled shyly, and when he sat down on the single sofa, he looked at Han Qian, who was busy making tea at the dining table. The mistress thought highly of this Han Qian, and that's right. A guy who can come up with such a short-term plan should be likable. When Han Qian was pouring tea, Lu Chang stood up slightly, holding the teacup with both hands. A man with good family rules and etiquette was thousands of miles behind Han Qian. Han Qian didn't take it to heart. He just sat down. Qianling scolded her again. "Is the teapot spout pointed at me like this?" Han Qian quickly stood up and turned the teapot in another direction. When it dropped again, Qianling spoke again. "I heard that you have been late or left early recently. You didn't go to class well. If you don't want to go to work, I can change your job at the Yamanman." It had only been 10 minutes since he entered the house and he had been scolded 3 times. Han Qian looked at Qianling with a sad face and said sadly, "Auntie, would you like me to sit down and take a rest first? I have been sitting down and taking a rest while eating since morning. When you called me, I came over in a hurry. Please don't lecture me for being so ambitious. I don't have any ambitions. I'm a waste of rules, okay?" After saying this, Han Qian sat down. Qianling raised her head and lightly slapped Han Qian on the forehead, saying angrily, "No future." Han Qian covered his forehead with one hand, stood up and went to the single sofa, wanting to stay away from Qianling. A series of interactions between Qianling and Han Qian were captured by Lu Chang and analyzed very thoroughly. The mistress scolded Han Qian for looking at him, and she was scolding him, but what she actually meant was to tell him that she looked at this Han Qian. "It's very heavy, like a nephew." Lu Chang pushed his eyes on the bridge of his nose, narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Master wife, please don't talk about Brother Qian. Brother Qian looks like he is only in his 20s. He can think of the plan you told me at such a young age. Brother Qian is already ahead of his peers." Qianling was very satisfied with this compliment, but Han Qian crossed his legs and curled his lips. Fortunately, Qianling didn't look at him at this moment, but Lu Chang saw it, and he smiled at Han Qian. "Brother Qian, I am older than you. You are my master's nephew, and I am your teacher's student. I think we should treat each other as brothers." The day before yesterday, my master told me about your proposed game model agency rights, and you were the first to use an empty shell game. Register, Brother Han. Have you calculated how much it will cost? Han Qian looked at Erlang's legs, holding an unlit cigarette in his mouth, and curled his lips. I haven't thought about how much money it is, Brother Chang. Let me ask you first, do you know the inside of the current game company? Lu Chang narrowed his eyes and laughed. R/U0026D, Planning, Operations, Customer Service. Han Qian took out a lighter, lit a cigarette, shrugged and said softly. What I'm talking about is not this, but the internal distribution of game companies. A game company will not only develop one game. Nowadays, the internal structure of game companies has changed. It is no longer the old routine, but multiple studios. Each studio is responsible for developing and operating a game. The company only needs to provide the money. In addition, what we sell is just to seize the opportunity. Not to mention, we get the right to use the model for 2 years or even 1 year. We have the upper hand. As soon as we get the right to use it, the news will spread immediately. Every game studio knows one thing. Only the first game will leave an impression in the hearts of players. This has a lot to do with money. Does it matter much? After hearing this, Li Yuliu smiled, his tone adding a bit of edge. Brother Han, how do you convince the game company to hand over the model rights to you? Han Qian also laughed after hearing this. A robber kills someone and is responsible for digging a grave. As soon as these words came out, Lu Chang's face instantly became embarrassed. Qian Ling stood up and slapped Han Qian on the back of the head, saying angrily. Speak nicely. The cigarette was knocked away. Han Qian covered his head with one hand, bent down to pick up the cigarette butts, looked at Qian Ling with a sad face, and said sadly. Auntie. Isn't that the truth? Then let me talk in a different way. Qian Ling nodded with satisfaction, and Han Qian looked at Lu Chang and said seriously. The midwife is responsible for delivering the baby, but also for breastfeeding. I'm going to correct typos tonight.